It's the first of a series of events called Viewpoint, organised by LOFT Eyewear shows, and it's going to be pretty exciting. What about this spectacular venue? Don't you think it's really cool? Keep Memory Alive building, designed by Frank Gehry. There's a lot of great work goes on here as well. There's a lot of research into brain disorders and a lot of charity work. This is the Lou Ruvo charity here. And I should say as well that all the money, the rental from the exhibition goes to the charity. So that is absolutely brilliant. Well done, Loft. Well done, everybody. Thank you to the team here, done a fantastic job. She's around, everybody here, Paul and AV, thank you very much for welcoming us and for doing such a great job. Huge thank you to LOFT Eyewear shows, because this is fantastic. And I can say from the heart, this is the first time that I've really looked forward to coming to this show. So well done, Richie. Well done, Lou, who's not here. I think we'll probably give a big whoop for Lou, because Lou, apart from the fact that we miss him and he's not here tonight, he has done an incredible amount of work for independent eyewear. And I think we should give Lou a super cheer, and we're all thinking of you, Lou. So, see you next year. Okay, moving on. Why are we here? Well, we're here to celebrate independent optics and to inspire and discuss and involve you guys and anybody else who's not here and gets to see it afterwards in discovering what independent eyewear is about and talking about the challenges and the things that we face that are opportunities and talking to these incredibly intelligent and important women about why women are so important in optics and just generally about independent optics. We're going to be looking at it from the point of view of brands, stores, reps, people that are interested. I know a lot of you guys are involved already in independent optics, but some of you perhaps aren't and are interested and want to find out about it and want to know more. This is the opportunity. We have some of the most important and influential women in our industry here, but these are not just the most important and influential. I wish I hadn't said that now. That sounds awful. You can take that out, edit that. People in our industry who happen to be women. And I think that's the most important thing about this. In a world where women don't always necessarily get equal opportunities in lots of different fields, I know that Hillary didn't feel she got equal opportunities a little while ago. I think our industry is pretty incredible with the representation of women that are moving and shaking what's happening, what we're doing. So, enough from me. At the end of this, we'll open the floor to you guys. We'll have a question and answer session, because I'm sure you've got lots of burning questions already, but you'll have even more when you've heard what everybody's got to say. I'd like to start by asking you to each introduce yourselves for a couple of minutes, tell us about your background, your trajectory, how you got to where you are now. And I am going to pass this mic around. Julia.
Hi. Hello.
Shall I switch it on? Is this on? It's on.
Hello. Sorry about that. I'm Julia Gagosha. Oh, there we go. That's comfortable. This is my 20th year in optics. I started when I was 18, and it was the first thing that didn't bore me and always kept my interest. And I like spending my time on all the ones that challenge me. And it's an incredible industry to be able to, I don't know where it's going from, to explore in that way. And I'm really excited to be a part of it. So,
how did you start? How did you start in optics?
I started as an apprentice optician in Birmingham, Michigan, and moved to New York, and then started representing different designers and traveling for about 10 years. And then opened a store in 2008, and then my second in 2011, both in Los Angeles. And yeah, been doing pop-ups for the last year and building a permanent new location as well.
Okay, cool, brilliant. Thank you, Julia.
Hi there, I'm Allison Amos, and I'm with Ottica Veneta and Suspiri Eyewear. I'm representing one half of what is a very small little pod in this amazing optical world. My husband and I started Ottica Veneta in 2001. We're a Dallas-based business, but we are 100% made in Italy, all about Italy. I didn't come to the optical world through education. I came to it through trial and fire and mistakes and hard work. My background is actually in nonprofit management and organizational development. So it's been a really interesting sector to kind of bring a totally non-related field into. And I've loved getting to see what all of you do and throughout the years in the business, and just here to grow and learn from all of you. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Christine Ye. I'm the executive editor for 2020 magazine, which I think most of you are familiar with. I've been in the industry for 17 years. I actually started in the marketing department at Jobson, which is the company that publishes 2020. James Spina, our editor-in-chief, has always been an amazing mentor to me, and I always worked closely with him. And he stole me from the marketing department probably about 8 years ago, and I've never looked back. And as you know, our main mission at 2020 is to cover all optical frames in the industry. And as far as the LOFT show, it's obviously relatively new compared to Vision Expo, but it's something that we love to cover, and we have a great time doing it, and I'm excited to be a part of this tonight. So
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Wendy Sally. I have Sally Opticians in Atlanta. This is my 30th year in optics, and have been a small independent practice the entire time. So I've been a business owner for 30 years that has evolved. Obviously, 30 years ago, there wasn't the great array of independent eyewear that there is today. So being able to see what it was 30 years ago and see where it is today is probably the most exciting part about the job. I love what I do. I still get up every day wanting to go and do it all again, and keep reinventing and keep pushing. And I think if anybody in this industry now, this is literally the most exciting time, because we have more things available for us to do today, to customize and branch off into than any other time.
Thank you, Wendy.
Hi, I'm Siobhan Burns, otherwise known as the Eyeglass Lass. I have been in optical since 2003. I worked in corporate optical, surprising as I am a painted lady. I had to cover them all up. So now being my own boss, there is no more dress code. But I opened my own shop, which is a standalone boutique, 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. So it's been really exciting. I never worked with independent eyewear before that. So this has been a wonderful, wonderful trip for me so far. And at the beginning of this year, I decided to add more to my plate, and I'm also a rep for Kirk & Kirk. But I love it, and I've met some of my favorite people I've ever met in my entire life in this short amount of time that I've been a business owner. And I just want to keep doing more.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Haynes, and I own Art of Optics in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. Sorry. And my start in optical was very falling into it, shall we say. I had a choice between being an optician, which I knew nothing about, or working at a gas station. And I decided that whatever an optician was, it must be better than working at a gas station. So I kind of just fell into it that way, and I ended up just loving the industry. I was recruited by a company in Minneapolis, a luxury company, and I found out very quickly that I was not cut out to work for other people at all. So in 2001, I opened Art of Optics, and we've never really looked back. We've always been staunchly independent, and we want to keep it that way. And it's really great to be up here with all of these people that kind of have the same feeling about eyewear. And I agree with Wendy. I think it's just a super exciting time to be in the industry.
Hello, my name is Roberta Baines, and I'm the brand manager of Top Hat Eyewear. I I guess you can say I was born into the industry. My father was an optician. I grew up in the production side. I could say that I probably didn't want to end up in the industry, but in the end, it kind of called my name. In 2010, we launched our collection. And as you say, once you start doing something, you never look back. And I'm very happy to be here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Jessica Fraser. I am the new sales rep for Bevel and Blake Kuwahara. I just joined the team in June. Super excited to be a part of the team because I actually started in this business in 1996 at Belmont Shore Optometric in Long Beach, California. I was a secretary, and as a lot of us, I kind of fell into it. I didn't really have much going on. I moved to Los Angeles to start a new life from Michigan, and started as a secretary. And one of the first reps that came into the store was Boyd. He was the rep for Kata, and I fell in love. That was like where I began my passion for high-end eyewear, was with the Kata collection. After that, I went to work for Optical Shop of Aspen and managed several stores for them. And then from there, I decided that I wanted to rep. I finally pursued my rep dreams and started to work for Robert Mark and Lenore, and worked the Southwest, Southeast for them for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then I started with Teo Eyewear for the West Coast and half of Canada. And I was with them for 8 years, and that was such a beautiful introduction into like really unique eyewear, and it further grew my passion. And now I am here on the East Coast working with Bevel and Blake Kuwahara. So for me, it's been a wonderful ride to get to know so many people throughout the business. And now I feel like I'm doing a full circle. I've done the South, Southeast, the West, half of Canada. Now I'm East Coast and Toronto. So making the rounds. You're right. And it's been wonderful, and I'm so happy to be here. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Erin Morgan, and I am the editor-in-chief and editorial director of Eyecare Business Magazine, which you probably all have seen, but here's our September issue that I brought with me, or Carrie Ann brought with her. And the magazine's been around for about 30 years, and I have actually been in the optical industry, covering the industry as an editor for 25 years. I started when I was 5. And yes, and it's been just kind of, a love of mine, this industry and the people and the eye care professionals. And I started with Eyecare Business back 25 years ago. I was there for a few years and launched a new magazine called Frame Buyer, which is now a part of Eyecare Business. That was around for several years, and that was kind of a little more high-end, really focused on frame buying. And then I left Eyecare Business to become the editor-in-chief of 2020 magazine. I was the editor-in-chief of 2020 for several years. And then I left the industry altogether, went into consumer magazines, and I worked at Playboy. I worked at a magazine in New York City called Soho Style. I did a lot of kind of outside the industry, and then I came back. I just love it so much. And I had left New York City after September 11th. It was kind of, I had a cathartic road trip and ended up in Colorado, and I live there now. And I was freelancing for Eyecare Business for many, many years. And now, 2 years ago, they asked me to come on as their editor-in-chief. So I'm very honored to be back full-time in the industry and be dealing with everyone here again. It feels like family. So thank you, and thank you for inviting me tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nada Vuksik from Vancouver, and I'm afraid of falling off the edge here, which is all I've been thinking about, out of this eye, when listening to everybody else. I'm super excited, first of all, to look out here and see so many great people that I know through this industry. one of the reasons I'm here is because of a woman in yellow glasses in the back row, Gay Girardi from LA Eyeworks. And there are too many of the rest of you to enumerate. I have 2 stores with a partner in Vancouver, and I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's such an unbelievable ride, and it's so cool, and it changes all of the time, and it's such an honor to be here. This crew here is like, what? Right? I mean, this is it. This is it. This is really good. And thank you for having us here, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. Fantastic. So your first round is going to be on geography. Okay. All right, good. So everybody's going to get questions. So everybody's going to get some questions. You get a little bit of time to talk about the subjects that I think are probably things that interest you and hopefully will interest you guys, but they're not prepared. So we might throw a few little curveballs in there, see what happens. So, in no particular order, actually it is a pre-prepared order, but I'll make it look like it's no particular order. Erin, have you got the microphone down there? So, my question is this, it's really simple. Why are there so many strong, successful women in optics? Really strong, really like strong, successful.
Hello?
Hello. Okay. Well, that's a great question.
Thank you.
And I'm not totally prepared for that question, but I do have some statistics that I thought were really interesting related to women in optics and how it's grown over the years. So I just wanted to share those with you guys. So this is really interesting to me, and we're seeing right now, and we see this at Eyecare Business, and we hear about this all the time. You know, women are entering the industry at a faster rate than ever before, especially as optometrists. It's a huge trend, and you'll see from the statistics I'm going to give you, it's really interesting. So this is just kind of a little interesting tidbit. In 1950, the classified directory of the city of Los Angeles listed 22 women optometrists. 1950, 22 women optometrists. The figure dropped to 10 women optometrists in 1955. So that was less than 3% of the total number of optometrists in Los Angeles. And just more recently, according to an American Optometric Association study, there's an estimated 40,000 optometrists today, which is a number a lot of us know. Today, 61% are male and 39% are female. That's 15,600 female ODs today. So that's a huge number. And by 2022, that number is expected to rise to 46,300 women. And the breakdown's expected to change dramatically. So they're predicting that the industry is going to be 51% female and 49% male. Yeah, so we're going to outnumber you guys.
Why?
I think it's a great industry. I think a lot of women, I think from an optometrist perspective, I think it's a fantastic career for a woman. You're an entrepreneur, you can come in and have your own business. Whether you're an optician or you have your own business, or you're an optometrist and you have your own business, being in gives you a lot of flexibility. I think women are just really well suited to the care of eye care and the fashion component of the industry, and I think women are fantastic entrepreneurs. I just think it's a great industry and a great market for women. So I think that's why we're seeing more and more of that, and a lot of women graduating from optometry school today. So I hope that answers your question.
No. Yeah, it goes a long way to answer my question, thank you. So I've got another question for you as well, which we're going to start on the broader topic so we can kind of narrow it down. So, our industry is really changing fast. Everything's happening really, really fast here. And the world of online optics, online sales, the companies that, I'm sure we'll get a mention, I won't mention anybody's name, but I'm sure we'll get a mention shortly, are encroaching on our market and influencing a market, not necessarily badly and not necessarily well. But how do you think we should approach the online, the development of online and digital in optics from all sides of the industry?
Sure, and this is something that it's the cover story of our, and kind of the major focus of our September issue, which is this issue. I don't know if there's any over here, but we have it at the show. And it's online as well. But there's a lot of great information in there. We've interviewed a lot of great independent eye care professionals about how they are competing. I don't know if you're familiar with the chain of high-end stores in New York City called Optics. But we did a great interview with them. They had a Warby Parker open up a brick and mortar store a block away from one of their stores in New York City. So they gave us some really good strategies and tips for how they're kind of competing with the brick and mortar component of Warby Parker as well as the online. And so right now, online eyewear sales, according to the Vision Council, is about 2.3% of all RX eyewear sales. That's the online RX eyewear sellers, just not Plano Sun, not Sunwear at all. And that number is growing and growing and growing. So we'll definitely see more and more of that. And I think what we're seeing, in eye care business, we're talking to eye care professionals all the time. And this is we did a reader survey in July, and we found this was their number one concern. This is what's keeping them up at night. It's a little bit different on the high end, but I think when you're talking about the overall independent eye care professional community, it's a huge concern. And I think one of the problems that's happened is that a lot of eye care professionals tell us it's degraded eyewear in the mind of the consumer because they're looking at it more from a price perspective. Why are you selling $600 eyewear? Shouldn't it be $99 with lenses and frames complete? Like, why can Warby Parker do that, and why are yours $600 or $700 or $800? So the obvious answer is, explaining the quality story, explaining the tech story, related to eyewear. And that's what we're seeing people doing. We're also seeing some really cool stories. Like, I don't know if you guys know Dr. Bimal Patel. He's in Houston, and he's an optometrist, but he does what he calls concierge service. And he takes the patient from he does the check-in, he does the eye exam. After your eye exam, you get an eye mask and you get a cocktail. And then he sits down and he does the fitting with you. I mean, it's brilliant. And he's really succeeding. He does a lot of trunk shows, he does fashion shows in his store, and I think it's just a matter of really differentiating yourself today and having that incredible customer service that you're not going to get at Warby Parker. I went in and bought glasses at Warby Parker in the Meatpacking District in New York City a year ago to write about it for Eye Care Business, and it was a terrible experience for me. My experience was not good. The service was not good. The fit is terrible. I got my glasses in the mail. I said, they don't fit. I contacted them, and they said, take them to your optometrist and ask him to fit them to your face. So, which I did not do because that was embarrassing. But anyway, so that's kind of what we're seeing, is how people are competing with online and that concern about online.
It's an opportunity though as well, isn't it? Because it's companies like Warby Parker and Luxottica did it with Ray-Ban a while back. They make lots of noise, and they make people really aware of eyewear, and they make eyewear fashionable as well. So it is an opportunity at the same time.
And we do hear that a lot as well. In this issue, we interview a man by the name of David Friedfeld, and he owns Clear Vision Optical, and he actually gives a presentation at the shows called Why I Love Warby Parker and Why You Should Too, because it's really great for the industry in the way that they have definitely elevated eyewear in the minds of people. I want several pair, I want fashion, I want eyewear, it's cool, it's hip. There's an upside and a downside to it, no doubt.
Cool, brilliant, thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So we are now going to come down to this end of the panel. Julia?
Yes. Hey.
Don't be scared.
It works.
Okay. So, Julia, you were a successful rep for a long time. You worked in different parts of the industry, and you spotted a niche. And you went for that niche, and you spotted a niche in an evolving market. I mean, it was really a time when things were changing, and they're always changing, but that was a particularly...
Yeah, I opened March of 2008, and the landscape of Los Angeles in March 2008 was Bush was president,
gas was $5 a gallon, and houses were dropping $10,000 a week to sell. So it was a vacant time in a lot of cities across America where people didn't really know what tomorrow was going to be. I live in that same America, so I felt the same way, but there was, I was a rep in lots of different territories, and in Los Angeles, there was very little representation for creative, independent eyewear. And I too am here from the yellow glasses lady. You know, like my first amazing pair of glasses that I saved up for, you know, when I was little was in LA Eyeworks at 14. I took a summer job to get them because they changed the identity that much. So through those years, my favorite parts, like, was I could work with all these incredible people, and in Los Angeles, I felt like there were so few of us. So I wanted a place where I can represent all the designers I really believed in that were being kind of marginalized a bit. And so, yeah.
So how do you represent them? What advice would you give to people, for example, who feel the same that you feel now?
I think really it's about sharing the story of why you love what you love. So identifying things that inspire you throughout an object, like, and the people who make them. Like, we're just a conduit for this object between two individuals. So finding the connective thread and understanding like what it is you love about this piece and what it can bring out in a human being, it's pretty awesome. So like that's how I connect in doing this, and that's what I love about it. And you can't, you know, and everyone has a different truth of what they love, and if they share that and it connects with someone, like that's what you do. And all of these make it so easy to do. There's all these great designers who are making beautiful objects that you want to see out in the world. So I'm just a conduit for that.
Well, you're great at that, and I love the way that you give each brand, you allow the brand to express its own personality within your store. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, and I've seen you in action. I saw you on the great interview with Garrett. Is Garrett here? Garrett Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was brilliant. And what I love about that is the way that you not only find the individuality, express the individuality of the brands, but you find each individual person and you manage to get their personality out across through the eyewear, which I think is brilliant.
It's just
how?
Well, I
That's
mean,
my question.
I think that's how. I mean, that's it. Like, you share the stories. You need to know why you love what you love in the first place. Like, that's who's going to thrive in an industry of people who always, like, we all inspire each other, but you have to have your own individual voice for it. So, I mean, that's how I do it. That really, you know, I share each story and learn about the brands, and I'm just curious about what hinges someone decides to use and why, and the different proportions, and it marries aesthetic and humanity. And it's a really interesting thread to go between a medical necessity and a fashion accessory and a personal, you know, we have our own avatars that we've become. And it's cool to have like the daily choice of what you want, you know, what you want to express. And it's not for me to determine what that should be for you as a customer. So I allow the customer to teach me who they are. And so I have these tools to do that. Like, that's what this industry is to me.
That's great. Brilliant. Thank you, Julia. Okay, where are we going next? Roberta. You look so excited. So Roberta, you have been, well, you are third generation in optics, is that right? Third generation. And your dad is very involved in that as well. And I think your husband used to be involved in optics somewhere as well.
Yes.
Is he around? There's Claudia. Hello, Claudia. So you set up Tavat recently, didn't you? Relatively recently.
In 2010, we launched the collection.
Yeah.
So
it
feels like it's been forever, but
well, it doesn't. First of all, it doesn't feel very long ago. 2010 to me. I don't know about you lot. But it's a challenging environment. It's really difficult, and for somebody who wants to set up a new brand now, I think that's pretty tough. I think that's really tough. So, and I don't think it was any easier in 2010. So, how did you go about that? What were the challenges? How did you address those challenges?
well, I think that we were lucky that we had the production knowledge. So my father spent several years before we went to market developing our hinges, which is one of the ways that we differentiate ourselves today. When I came on board in 2008, it was just a bunch of hinges on the table. There was no marketing, no collection, no brand identity. So it took us about 2 years, and when you are a new brand, nobody, when you go to a market, if you don't have any, it's hard to explain, but if nobody knows who you are, no one is going to take you serious. So my father, whilst he came from the production side, Tabat, we were another brand on the market that you try to differentiate yourself, and it takes a couple of years of just pounding the pavement and trying to be different but wearable, show that you can stay in business, and develop those relationships.
So, I know what your answer is going to be to this. So what do you do in the company?
A janitor?
Wasn't the one I was expecting everything. You travel loads and loads, you're all over the world, and you see different markets, you see different opticians. And what my experience at the moment is that the American market, the American independent market, is burgeoning. It's fantastic. It's doing really, really well. And it's kind of flipped, because not that long ago, the American market was quite difficult. Europe was great. Europe was super easy, and things have changed. And one of the challenges for brands is actually finding markets. It's actually recognizing where that market is. Now, do you think there's a way that we can take the experience that we're learning, that we're all learning here together and that we're sharing, and take that experience of how to do something well and how to develop a market, and take that to the markets that are difficult right now?
Well, every market, in my opinion, proposes a whole new set of challenges, and it is one of the hardest things to get a brand known, but I think it's harder to find the right people to help communicate the message. So honestly, when it comes to the States, I do think it's an emerging market, but it's also very difficult to find the right people sometimes to help carry forth the message. And
that's what you look for in a retail partner, for example, somebody who can communicate your brand and the values that your brand has.
Well, I feel like there's so many independents that are, you have the opportunity to work with. It's just that you actually need the one-to-one relationship with your customers, and your customers have to be, like, they have to know that you're there and that you're going to stand by them. So there are plenty of people to work with here, absolutely.
There are plenty, and we have to keep growing. We have to keep growing our market, don't we? I think we need to provide a marketplace. And we need to work together with that marketplace for everybody to develop. Brilliant, thank you. Alison. So Alison, I've got a really simple question to start with for you. What is luxury eyewear, in your opinion?
It's actually, I think, one of the... Yeah?
What is luxury independent eyewear?
I think there is a little line, and I think, kind of going back to something that was said before, this is such an interesting time in our industry, and there's so many people pumped up about independent eyewear, so we're kind of starting to use the words independent and luxury all in the same sentence. And so we have two brands. We have Ottica Veneta, which is kind of our most simple Italian acetate brand, which sells for a retail price of maybe $450. And then we have another brand called Suspiri, which is utterly bejeweled and has a retail price point between $750 and $1,500. And so those are two very different markets. Both are independent. Both kind of get tossed into the same category we see as luxury. And we've got a lot of folks that are in similar kind of businesses as us who are also termed as luxury. And so the real trick goes out, like Roberta was saying, is, okay, where's that customer? The customer who is buying true luxury eyewear many times is very different than the customer who's just buying independent. Doesn't make them better, doesn't make them... there's no judgment there, but it is a different target. So when you have a small company like mine and maybe like Tabat's, then you say you've got to really hone in on where is that clientele who is really searching to buy something that doesn't have a big brand name on the side, that is something that is a limited edition collection. We're only making 100 per model. Who has maybe a world traveler, maybe who wants something that nobody else has.
And that is an even tougher niche to slot yourself into. Ultimately, if you're in there, it can be all the more rewarding, and makes your mission all the more clear because you know who that customer is. From a retail perspective, you know who that customer is when they walk in the door. You're like, you know what? You're looking for something different. It's easier. The niche is easier. But when markets go up and down, when the US is doing great and China's not doing great, when the Ukraine's down in the tank, but Japan's way up, as a small company, and you're into luxury, not just independent, but you're into luxury, then you got to get your eyes going all around the globe if you're just going to get that little slice.
Are there areas that we don't necessarily think of immediately within optics or outside of optics that offer channels, offer opportunities for brands, for interesting brands, for unique brands?
Hello. I think one thing that we started doing about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago is we realized in some of our markets, for example in Japan, even in New York, that our product, the high-end product, Suspiri, was more suited actually into a kind of a luxury department store or a top couture accessory and clothing store. Just because people who were going in there were recognizing that I'm here for something special and different. And so we started thinking, how do we outreach to those kind of alternative, those non-optical, those types of stores? It's not easy. Number one, the representative portion gets, who are you going to get to help you out? What kind of connections do you have? But I think that is kind of our next opportunity that we see, and there's a wide field there, is to kind of pair ourselves more with the fashion industry and see what retailers are out there that are beyond just the normal optical business.
Brilliant, thank you. Nada. Do you have a mic?
Yes.
Cool, good.
Yes.
So, I don't know how many of you guys are connected with Nada on LinkedIn, for example, but your communication is really individual and really interesting and very, very personal. You have a unique approach, and I really enjoy it. Anybody else who's connected, I hope you enjoy it too.
Pretend you know it even.
And you talk about relationships. At work between you and colleagues, between colleagues, how they interact with consumers. And I wonder how important you think the emotional transaction is between you and the consumer.
That's an amazing question.
Oh, thank you.
I know, right? It's all, hashtag, right? Hashtag integrity, hashtag, all of those hashtags kind of sum up little bits of that. I think the emotional component is huge because people are trusting us to guide them. I think they want to come in and have an experience. I think if you look at my Instagram, for example, it's what I'm sort of seeing is that the idea of a demographic has changed. I don't believe a demographic anymore is defined by an age or a region. I think it's a point of view. I think it's global. I think sophisticated consumers, of which, and people are more and more sophisticated all the time. I mean, I think if you take the emotion out of it and make it just transactional, it certainly doesn't work for me. I mean, in our store, you walk in, I hug people, which really scares the first timers when they come in, and I'll share my lunch with people, or it's just, so to me that connection is really, I think that's also what sets us apart from online sales. And I think that is the thing that you will never be able to transact via the internet.
Oh, well, that brings us on to something perfect. Funny you should say that.
What? Yeah.
Because we're communicating with our clients all the time, before they're in our stores, after they leave our stores, and very little of that emotional transaction and that contact is actually face-to-face. So, and we talked about Warby Parker as an example, we talked about online sales and everything else. I think the most important thing, I think probably all agree here, is how do we educate the public to understand what they're buying, and to give them a choice, to give them an informed decision. You know, if they decide to buy a pair of $99 glasses, that's fine, but how can we give them that information? Because I feel sometimes that we focus too much on telling each other like how much we hate this brand and how much we hate that brand, and somebody's opened up down the road, and frankly, it doesn't get us anywhere. We've got to think about how we can move forward. So how do you feel we can do that?
Well, I think we need to continue to build each other up and to support each other and to recognize that not everybody's going to be drawn to the same brands or the same people or the same whatever. So I think that is, and again, that's a communication. I think we have to be really wary of, I sort of have developed this thing where, and I know, shocker, where I'll put a frame on someone and I'll say, oh my God, that's so Guido and you make films. Or that's so Grace Kelly on a mountaintop wearing a scarf, or that's so. I have like little stories in my head for what a frame does when I put it on people, that makes it kind of an emotional experience. I know that sounds really wacky. That's my way, and I think that's one of the ways that we do it. We personalize it. We don't focus on things like warranty or things like that. We focus on beauty and the tactile experience of the frame. There's so many things I think that we can emotionally communicate, and I think language is a huge part of it. I love words, and I sometimes make them up if I can't find the right ones, which I think is also perfectly fine. And I think that we need to use our words. I used to teach these seminars at Douglas College, and I would make people go through a whole sort of play acting transaction, and they were not allowed to use the word nice, even once. And some people didn't know what to say, because all they sort of knew, their entire vocabulary around eyewear or around something that they're passionate about was, that's nice. And I mean, you can change your inflection, that's nice, that's nice. But it's you know, we need to use language, and we need to use communication, and we need to not be afraid to connect with people, even though it is a transaction ultimately. But I think that what builds this is that extra bit of communication.
Brilliant, thank you. Crystal, you got a mic? You got a mic? Brilliant. So 2020 has continued to champion independent designers, and everyone's aware that there's commercial pressure from advertisers who are not necessarily independent brands. How do you cope with that? How do you deal with that? How do you balance it? Because you're taking on some responsibility there for this section of the industry.
You mean from non-independent frame companies?
Yeah, how do you balance that? Because it would be very easy to only write about the guys who spend their money on advertising.
I think to an extent, they do understand that, you know, we're a publication that has to sort of remain objective and be open-minded to everything that's out there. So I don't think it's really been a big issue. You know, I think maybe some of them are a little bit concerned, especially with, you know, what you guys have been doing here, but I think they realize that that's just sort of how the industry has evolved. And, you know, so I think they respect that, you know, and, you know, and again, it's independent eyewear is something that, you know, all started with James, as you know, and he's been sort of championing it for a good number of years now, and you know, it's not like independent eyewear hasn't been around. It always has been around, but you know, I think in the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's just completely it's been sort of like a renaissance. And again, for us, we want to be open-minded, and we just want to show everybody what's out there, and you know, so we try to keep a balance, you know, and for 2020, it's not, oh, if you advertise, we cover you, you know, we don't really work that way.
So you're constantly evolving. I mean, your online presence
is
superb, and
yes.
And it's quite clear as well that from your online presence, you're not just talking to the industry, you're getting out there talking to consumers. So,
right. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, our print readership is mainly the trade. You know, we go out to about 50,000 qualified subscribers, and you know, it's made up of a combination, mostly opticians and optometrists, but also, you know, a lot of retail managers, owners. You know, we have some chains as well. You know, but a big portion of it is you know, sort of the mom and pop and the independent retailer. But you know, just in the last decade, with the launch of 2020mag.com, which we've, you know, been redesigning over the years. We just redesigned it in March, and with social media, you know, I would say we were probably the first publication to get on social media, and that has really extended our reach to a whole new audience of consumers who just love eyewear. And you know, especially Instagram, we're about at 19,200 followers. I think we're going to hit 20,000 followers probably by the end of September. It's constantly growing. You know, and people love it. And you know, we're Instagramming from the show. You know, when we do our photo shoots at events, and people just love it. And you know, we make sure to tag all the brands. And a lot of times, you know, they're getting more followers that way. And again, it's just, we have found that social media for us has been another great way to communicate, you know, what we're all doing here. So I think that's huge.
And I think that's an opportunity that sometimes we all miss as well, is the connection between the various strands of our industry. I mean, there's an opportunity for brands like us to communicate through you and use your knowledge and your reach.
And you know, for what we do at 2020 is especially, I mean, I think James has sort of instilled that in everyone at 2020, where we just sort of just fall in love with eyewear. And he always likes to say that we romance the product, you know, whether it's with how we're shooting it, whether it's, you know, on a beautiful model or a beautiful still life that we're doing, or just that we're writing about it, or interviewing, you know, some of the amazing designers. You know, I think we show the passion, and I think our readers see that passion, whether or not it's the consumer or the retailer, and hopefully other designers and brands, and so.
Brilliant. Thank you. Siobhan. So Siobhan, you've worked in different market sectors, and you now run an absolutely beautiful store, and it's very much in your own image. It's a very personal identity. It's a great story. You need to see it. And you're fiercely independent in everything that you do, the way that you present your brands, the way you present yourself. You're fiercely independent. So, but a store's not just about the product. So what other elements do you think are important outside of the product in an independent store?
I really think it does go back to what we do to kind of make the person realize the value in what we're selling. I absolutely go by the name of my store more than my name now, I feel. You know, people, oh, the eyeglass lass. Like, I live and breathe my store. And I think that, you know, just being passionate and really showing that and conveying that is, I don't want to say it's more important than the actual product that I carry, but I don't even want to sell something that I'm not obsessed with. And I think that the moment I show someone something and I show them how excited I am to even put that on their face, they start to realize, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing, and maybe go out of their comfort zone and things like that. I mean, it's so exciting for me when I see someone that comes in like a Flex-On drill mount, and they walk out and they're like, I got neon tortoise. Like, you know, and you would never in a million years think that they would do anything different than what they've always had. And it's really, I mean, that's just the most exciting thing for me. And I think that, I mean, I don't want to say that like the most important aspect of what I'm doing is me, but like I'm obsessed with it. And I really think that if you really just night and day want to do more to make people realize how amazing a pair of glasses can make them feel. I think like that is the most important thing. And I mean, I splash it all over the internet. I might be a little bit of an Instagram hussy. I mean, I don't know. But I mean, I think the more that you show people how excited you are about what you have, they're going to be more excited about it too. I mean, I have people that come in and they're like, so are you going to take my picture for the Instagram because I put makeup on? You know, and I was like, oh, yes, of course, like, because sometimes I forget. But, you know, people get so excited about just all of the buzz about eyewear, you know, and especially if it's something new for them, like, I just think it's fantastic. So really, I just think it's about, you know, merging yourself with what you do, you know, being what you do. Like, I am an optician from head to toe, you know, and it's just, I love it. So, am I rambling?
Yeah. Well, is it fair to say that you're passionate about optics?
Not at all.
So, you've also recently started repping some very beautiful frames.
Yeah.
Very,
It's a vicious rumor.
Yeah. But I kind of feel that part of that is about you wanting to share your passion with other opticians as well. It's not just about getting out there and like selling frames. It's about sharing what you love and sharing the experience. And this is all about the same kind of thing. It's about us all getting together and sharing. Do you think there are great conduits available for us to do that right now? Are there opportunities for us to get together as groups, whether it's online or physically? Or should we be creating more opportunities like that for people to share their experience, good and bad?
I really think everything is an opportunity. You know, we can turn anything into our best possible outlet if we take a second to do so. For me, repping, even though I don't feel like I have enough time in the day, it was something that really excited me because, and I wasn't paid to say this, I had such a great experience when I first opened my store. I literally had 2 display cases, I was saying this earlier, and like 2 frame lines because I was like, well, shit, I said I was going to open the store, so I'm open. And, you know, you were so generous and kind in helping me stock my store when I literally was just this random optician who was like, I'm going to open a store in 3 months. So, you know, those relationships that we're building in this community, I think just give us so much more power to be passionate and to really make those other connections. You know, for me now, reaching out to people about eyewear, not on a you're my customer basis, you know, one-on-one, here's a frame, let's put your lenses in it, but to get other people, even like in my immediate area, to carry the same lines because I think they're fantastic. Like, I think just people need to know more about these great opportunities in eyewear, you know, no matter what level it's at.
Great. Thank you. Wendy. You're up. So Wendy, is independence important in all aspects of your business? So, for example, like, do you give the same amount of importance to that thought when you're talking about lenses or contact lenses, or just for frames?
Well, you know, that's a really good question because I think all aspects of the industry are changing. And when we look at lenses, let's say, I think we've all done a really good job in embracing independent eyewear lines, but not so much in lenses. I think that's just kind of fallen by the wayside, and I think we all really need to push and realize what's happening in the industry. So when you have the big, 3 or 4 lens companies that are taking away contracts from independent labs and forcing you to go into their own lab systems to get that product, that's a problem. Because what happens is they're going to fix pricing, they're going to dictate where you buy and what you buy. So you've got to have choice, and I think choice is the biggest thing in eyewear today. Not just in frames, we've got umpteen choices in lines, but lab systems need to be embraced, independent labs and other companies. There's a lot of opportunity out there now to do your own lens designs. Not necessarily your own lens designs, but to be able to brand your own lens. And I think everybody should be looking at that.
That's interesting. And how do you think, not you specifically, but any retailer can deal with the commercial pressures of having rent to pay know, and yet you've got this passion for independent eyewear, which doesn't fly out the door at the same speed as the branded products. You know, it's like, do you carry Ray-Ban? Do you carry Tom Ford? Or do you stick to your principles and carry just frames that you love, even though you might be making your life more difficult? How do you deal with that?
Well, I think when you first start off in if you're a new store, I think the challenge is there. You know, do I go with what everybody else has to try and make my life a little bit easier? I think that's a big no. I think it's a big mistake. When you're a new store or a new company, people have to be able to look at you the first time they walk in and get a sense of what you are and what you do. So if you walk into a store and 50% of it is Ray-Ban, and that over here I have 3 independent lines, it just doesn't gel. So I just don't do that, and I don't think people should. If you don't have the conviction behind the lines that you're putting in, you're not going to succeed. So I think a big point here is we are all really, really present in our stores, and our personality and what we like and what we're passionate about comes through. It's not just a matter of selling 17 different brands.
Brilliant, thank you. Jessica. So, Jessica, you've represented some of the most amazing brands in our industry.
You know what? I totally made a huge mistake. You know, being up here with the light flashing on you, you get really nervous, and I look like a possum for a second because I got lost in what I was saying when I was explaining what I've done. I forgot to say I used to rep for Kirk Originals as well. And it was wonderful. And actually Jason and I traveled together, and it was fantastic. We had the best time.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh my
gosh. I don't remember any of it, but it was great.
Yes, and are you sure? Yes.
Well, there's nothing like it.
And I can't believe I did that, so I'm sorry.
No, it was great. So, but you've represented some of the most amazing brands through the industry, and the best people you have, yeah. Being a rep is easy, right?
No. No.
Anybody who's out there, I hope we might have some people who are thinking about becoming reps in the independent sector, and it's not easy. How far do you travel on an average year?
Oh my gosh, I would say, 200 days a year at least, maybe more, maybe 250. Depends.
Wow, that's serious.
Depends. Miles, I could not tell you. I really have no idea. I rent so many vehicles, because you fly and then pick up a car and rent it. And
so what happens? What happens when you drive? You fly, you drive 500 miles, and you turn up at the store, and these people are phoning you, say, I love your line, I've got to have it. And you turn up and you pull up outside, and you go, nah.
What happens?
They're never going to do it. But you turn up, you've driven all that way, and you look at the store and you go, ooh, that's like. Does that happen? Does that ever happen?
You know what? I don't do that.
Right.
Yeah, I really don't do that.
So what are the qualities that you look for? What are the qualities you look for in a store?
What I look for are the passion that somebody's going to have for the brand that you're showing them. And it's so important if you show your collection and you know that what you're doing is unique. I believe in what I do. I always have. And sometimes stores want a brand for just name recognition, but they don't really embrace what the brand is. And you can see that clearly when you're dealing with salespeople. And I think it's so important that if you have an image that you want to be in the market, that you hire and train the people to do and follow through with the image that you want them to pursue. So I've had situations before where I've gone into a store, a doctor really wanted the brand because it was a name that they felt would represent them. And then their main salesperson would sit down and look at the brand and, well, what do you think you can sell here? And she would be like, oh, I think I can do this one and that one and maybe that color. And for me, that's not going to work. I want to see somebody say, oh my God, I love this, because that's how I feel. And if I see that passion, I know that I can work with them and I can help cultivate the brand, and it'll do well. We have a relationship that we can form.
That's brilliant. So anybody who's thinking about becoming a rep in this sector, because the sector is polarizing, have you got any brief words of advice for somebody?
Oh gosh.
Because I am actually looking for somebody at the moment.
Advice. I have so much to say about that. I don't even know where to begin, actually. I would say you have to be really happy being alone, first of all, because you spend a lot of time alone. But also, if you really want to do this, I feel like you have to, I don't feel like you can start here and go to there. I feel like you need to learn every step of the way. I think it's the best way to be knowledgeable and help your customer, to give them advice, because we aren't just representatives for a brand. We actually want to partner with you. We want to be an ambassador, you know, and help you to give you ideas on how to grow your business and have dialogue and figure out, you know, what can we do to help you, or, you know, so if you don't have that back knowledge, it's kind of hard to know what to tell a customer, or, you know, how to, not really tell, but how to enhance, you know, if you can give advice in any way. Yeah.
It's great, thank you. Brilliant, thank you, Jessica. Stephanie, last but not least, Stephanie. So, Minneapolis is one of my favourite markets for eyewear. It's a great, there's great stores all around that area and far. And you opened very bravely in that market, something new. So, how was that experience for you?
Are we talking about the first store or the second store?
I was talking about the gas station, actually.
Yeah, the gas station store.
Yeah.
You know, well, when we opened in 2001, there was nothing around us, actually, in the suburb that we opened in. It was kind of an up-and-coming suburb. There was a lot of families there, a lot of money there, but no one had really seen the potential for luxury sales. So we kind of snuck in that market really before anyone else kind of had figured out that it was an awesome market to be in. So as far as second store goes, you know, it's funny because you just kind of know all the things that can go wrong. And we waited a really long time before opening the second store, but we decided if we were going to do it, we were going to plop ourselves down right in the middle of our competition, and because that's where all the people were, and that's where all the people that knew about luxury eyewear were, and it's been great. We've had a really great opening there, and people have been amazing. Obviously, what we carry is very different than our competitors. And that's something that's really important is, you know, if you're going to do that, you're going to open in the middle of all of your competition, you better make sure that you have things that they don't have. And you also want to have a staff that can, as everyone else here has pretty much said, you want to have a staff that can represent you and represent the product that you're trying to sell.
Brilliant, okay. And have you noticed in the time that you've been open, consumer behaviour in your store? Have you seen it changing? How do people behave?
It's so different now. We've been open for 16 years. We opened our second store about 15 months ago. And we made some major changes in the way that we designed the second store, the way that we marketed the second store. Consumer behavior is really changing. As Nada mentioned, it's not so much about demographics anymore. You know, you don't have, you know, women from the ages of 22 to 32 anymore. What people are shopping for, it's what they're seeing online. That's where they perceive their value. And it's really up to you to change their minds as far as, you know, again, that $99 special, why do they want to spend $700 or $800 with you?
Online when they're actually in your store, they pick up
We
their
just
phones.
had that happen. Actually, as I was leaving on Wednesday, I had one of my opticians call me in a panic because there was literally a woman in the store that was online shopping to try and find the frame cheaper that she was looking at, which she couldn't because we carry brands that, you know, they have MSRPs, and if they are online, you know, it's all above board. But it just, you know, I mean, it's always shocking the first time that happens, when you have someone come in and you're helping them and you've spent all this time with them and then they literally have no value for your services at all. So, you know, it's really, you have to get very good at educating people about why they need you. They need the experience, they need you, they need the store. They can't just go online and buy this product and think that they're going to be able to, you know, adjust it telepathically. You know, someone has to do that, and there needs to be some value there.
Brilliant. Great, thank you. Okay. So, can I grab that mic for a second? I'll be away from you. Thank you. So.